Okay, so here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports. Without further ado, we have Uncle James Bashir in the house. Uncle Bashir, how are we doing?
All good.
Okay, let's hand the floor over to you, and we can talk about things. Okay, so the last time we were on BWTM Sports, we were talking generally as we do about boxing, and in particular, we're talking about fighters that you've been attached to, whether it be the Klitschkos or Alexander Usyk or any of the other Ukrainian fighters that you have been working with, and you said that you had concerns about them being out at war in Ukraine. Obviously, you'd want them out of there for their own safety and their lives and their families. So if you could just recap on what you personally said, and then we can continue from that.
Yeah, well, in a time of war and strife, of course, I'm very worried about the Klitschko brothers, Alexander Usyk and Lomachenko, Vladimir, and all the other guys that I might have worked with there in the Ukraine. So yeah, I'm very concerned about their welfare and their well-being in light of what's going on there.
Absolutely. So it's quite often now when we do interviews, it gets reported, and we are grateful when it's reported in its right form and format from the Eastern European press, which is fantastic when they do cover it right. But unfortunately, in this scenario, at such a sensitive time, the article that's come out has, in much of a word, been misquoted. Can you explain to us why you feel that it's been misquoted?
Well, I got that from other Ukrainian people, people who listen to these interviews, as well as some of the boxers, the Usyks and the Sarinkos and so on. And they said that that was reported wrongly, They said that. I mean, they're Ukrainians. And
yes.
They told me that I was being misrepresented. So I thought it was very important that I go to the internet and make it clear as to what I said and what I didn't say. I never said that I supported the President Vladimir Putin in any way, form, or fashion. I don't believe in trying to play both sides of the streets. In my opinion, this person is wrong. Mr. Putin, he's wrong. And I don't support that. I support the Ukrainian people with all that I have. I think that they're right. I think that this war is much to do about nothing. This is just something that Mr. Putin wants to do. This is something that he wants to implement. This is something that he's created a justification for to do. So that's my opinion.
So it said in the article that you liked what Putin was doing. That's how it was perceived, or it was read.
God. Oh God. The person that wrote that article saying that I liked what Mr. Putin was doing, either they got to be stupid as a mother, either they got to be stupid as hell, or their perception is way off. How could they perceive something like that? How could they even make an insinuation that I would be in support of what Putin is doing? I mean, the person that's writing the article has to be a dumbass or just can't comprehend nothing.
So what was it that angered you the most about the article for you?
That I was being misrepresented. That angered me. Don't put words in my fucking mouth. I don't want nobody putting no fucking words in my mouth. Nobody in the world. Don't you put words in my mouth. You come to me, you contact me, and you ask me so you can get it straight from the horse's mouth the way you are doing now. Don't insinuate nothing. Don't take nothing and run it. Oh, this is what he said. Let me run with it. Don't try to follow up. At least try to follow up and ask me whether I said this or whether I support this or whether I don't support this. Ask me, but don't take something that you may have read or something that was misconstrued from the very beginning and run with it.
Because we talked about the Ukrainian side of things. We also talked about the Russian fighters as well. Povetkin being one of those fighters, Lebedev. What were your thoughts just to bring that back about the Russian fighters and whether they should be getting punished because of Putin's actions?
Well, like I said about Lebedev and Povetkin. And any of the other, even some people here in the States that are Russians, they might be supporting them and they might not be supporting them. They might be doing something in their own best interest. If you follow me, they might be saying something because they're living in Russia. And as I understand, it's not good to say something anti-Putin in Russia. Okay. So I don't know what the case, but I don't know what the case might be because they're living in Russia. That's what I said. So you can't tell whether they're in support of it or whether they're not in support of it. But it seems to be that they are in support of President Putin. So
where in our interview did you discuss about 15 years prison time? You did. I don't remember you saying anything about 15 years prison time.
No, I did say in the interview about 15. I said that members of the Western press had been warned by the government of Russia not to speak about anything that was outside of the narrative that Putin had put forth. In other words, if the people there, speaking in regard of the Western press, they have been warned, if you speak anything other than what the narrative that Putin wants you to speak, then you're liable to be sentenced to 15 years in prison. That's a fact. Anybody they could check that on the internet.
Okay, fair enough. So that's cleared up. Also, as you know, the Klitschko's are now calling for Russian fighters to be or not to be involved. This fight with Bivol, the Russian fighter fighting Canelo.
Right.
I think it's only right.
I think it's only right. I think that you have to go against this man every venue. You have to go after him. So yeah, I think that the Russian athletes should be barred from international sports.
Yes, but some of those Russian athletes might not agree with Putin, and they're out of Russia and they're doing what they're doing. Should they? I'm just asking a question. Should they be punished for another man's actions? Their livelihood and them making money. It's not those athletes are going to war.
You know what?
Do you understand? I'm just asking a question. Go ahead,
in a situation such as this, I don't think that that an individual can play both sides of the fence. If you oppose what he's doing, then you have to speak out against it. And if you don't oppose it, you have to speak out. You have to speak out. You have to let it be known what side of the fence you're on.
Okay.
And then maybe something can be done about you performing the sports and stuff. But you can't go back to Russia, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Better find a new home.
Got to find a new home. You can't go back to Russia. Once you speak out against them, you can't go back. It's common knowledge. Dictatorship, tyrants. These people are tyrants and dictators. And I'm asking myself, who the hell wants to live under that kind of government? So if you speak out against him, his narrative, you can't go back to Russia. So, get some pictures and try to make the best of that, but you can't go back.
So we've got people coming in now. Leif Gravenson, good evening. He says, they tried to frame James Ali Bashir for being anti-Ukrainian without seeing that Bashir has given years of expertise to multiple Ukrainian boxers insanity?
I'm damn near Ukrainian myself. I've been there so long.
That's true.
You know, the person that wrote the article has got to be some kind of a nimwit, some imbecile to even write an article insinuating something like that.
This particular publication I've had my run-ins with before. They've misquoted and done things before. It's not the first time. I don't know if they're trolling or what, but it's still not the right time to be doing it. It's never the right time to do it, but it's not on really. DLG asks a real great question here. He goes, Bibble's taxes go to who if he wins? So if Bibble's taxes go to the US, if he's paying money to the US, then what happens?
Listen, if Bivol is in Russia like his family isn't, he's a Russian. That's not his fault that he's a Russian. It's not his fault that he's standing up for the government, but you can't play both sides of the fence. All right? The organizations themselves, the IBF, the WBO, the WBA, the WBC, they all said no. It has to go across the board. You can't touch down in one venue and not touch down another. It's across the board. Everybody is affected by it because they want to hit this person where it hurts at in every aspect.
Guys, Biden has some weird interest in Ukraine, which has been hidden and swept under the carpet. The real truth about what is going on is hidden. Okay.
It could be a whole lot of stuff. You know, I'm not saying that America is clean, that their hands are clean too. But they're not outright murdering people, all right? Oppressing people.
Okay. Let me throw this at you now. Your former fighter, Alexander Usyk, current unified heavyweight champion of the world, is at war in Ukraine, defending his country, defending his people, but will not be defending his world title for a while, which leaves Anthony Joshua out of him getting an immediate rematch. Joshua's mentioned a couple of fighters, quite a few fighters' names. Otto Volin, Joe Joyce is a name that's been mentioned. Luis Ortiz is another that's been mentioned, and Deontay Wilder as a fight in between his rematch with Alexander Usyk. First of all, what are your thoughts on Usyk, the unified heavyweight champion of the world? How long it may take before he actually, if he has to defend his belt, or they won't make him defend his belt, or if you've known of situations where fighters have had to go, who've gone to war and they've been champions. Your thoughts on that, and then
you can't put a time limit on emotion and passion. Usyk is a Ukrainian, and he believes in the Ukrainian cause, you know, so you can't put a time limit on that. You know, those titles might get split up again by the time Usyk comes out and be prepared for a defense. So those titles might get split up if Usyk cannot defend them.
What about Anthony?
And then everything will start from the very beginning.
Oh no, we don't want that. What about Anthony Joshua? The sort of fights he's talking about? Well, okay, would you take a Deontay Wilder fight for Anthony Joshua during this time?
You know, I think that it's a case for and against. I think that Anthony Joshua, if he didn't do it, nobody can really blame him because he wants the shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. But on the other hand, if he did do it, you know, I would applaud that too because he's saying that I believe in myself. I believe I'm capable of being heavyweight champion, and I'll take on all comers. So either way, I'm in support of Anthony Joshua. If he doesn't do it, I would support that. But I think that the layoff would hurt Joshua more in this case than it would hurt Usyk.
Angel Fernandez confirmed as trainer, as we spoke about in the last interview. Do you have any concerns of Anthony Joshua's mental setup now after he's been beaten by Alexander Usyk convincingly?
Ask the question again, please.
Do you have any concerns about Anthony Joshua's mental setup and since being beaten by Alexander Usyk, and then going into fight against?
It's always a question about the mental state after a loss, you know, and the decision making therein. I don't know. You know, I don't know whether it's a good idea to go out there with an unproven trainer, but he seems to be comfortable with it. So who's to say the wiser?
There have been suggestions that maybe Anthony Joshua should never go and take that rematch. Not take that rematch at that time, and instead take 3 or 4 warm-up fights with his new trainer.
Warm-up fights is not Deontay Wilder. Warm-up fights is not Joe Joyce. You know, those are not warm-up fights.
Well,
those are life and death battles.
Anthony Joshua said, quote, he knocked Joyce out in the amateurs in 1 round, and he'll do the same again in the pros. Your thoughts on Joshua knocking Joyce out in a round?
Joshua said that?
Joshua said he'd knock out Joe Joyce in a round. Let him bring the heat.
Well, if he feeling like that, yeah, then go for it.
What are your thoughts on it, Uncle?
I don't want to do anything to dishearten his concept, his mindset. If he said that he can do it, then I got to believe that he can do it. I mean, Joe Joyce might have something to say about that, but if Anthony Joshua says that, look, hey, I did that one, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to jump in and throw a monkey wrench into his momentum and what his belief system is.
He says, and as for Joseph Parker, if he wants that rematch, he can get it as well. But let him come as well.
Yeah, I think that he beats Joseph Parker again.
Do you think Joseph Parker's improved since his fights?
I can't tell.
What about the Chisora fight? Or did those Chisora fights not mean anything?
It's Chisora. I mean, Chisora might have been having an off night, and maybe Joseph Parker got better than that fight. But you can't make an assessment because of one fight.
I know.
I wouldn't. As a trainer, I wouldn't make no assessment because what he did with Chisora. I wouldn't make no kind of assessment, especially if he's going to go against Anthony Joshua.
I noticed he never mentioned the name Andy Ruiz. It'd been a great fight, a third fight, because it's 1 apiece. Why doesn't Joshua go for Andy Ruiz?
Who?
Andy Ruiz.
That's what I'm saying. Who was that?
Isn't that the guy that knocked him down 3 or 4 times in America?
Yeah. Oh, that Ruiz. Oh, yeah. He's still fighting?
Andy Ruiz, not John Ruiz.
I'm saying, but that Andy Ruiz. But is he still in boxing?
Hey, watch. He's got a new trainer. He's left Canelo's trainer, and he looks really sharp at the moment. He looks, and he's hitting them pads with some real venom. Like
so Andy Ruiz is not with Reynoso no more.
No, he left Reynoso, and he looks like he was like somebody stole his pocket money or offended his mother. The way that he's fighting on punches on the pad. But I know pads don't hit back, but that lazy sort of thing. Hi, I'm Andy Ruiz. In the pads, he looked very ferocious. You know, pads don't hit back, as you know, Uncle, but the intent was there, you know. Fast hands, good punching power, good chin.
All of that's cool. But I'm based on his last fight.
Against Areola.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at. All that pad and bag work and all that stuff is cool.
And it doesn't impress you,
I tell young Cerenko, I push Cerenko sometimes probably past his limit. Serenko did 12 rounds one day. I said, you look so good, you should do 3 more rounds, get 15 rounds. So he really didn't want to do it, but he did it. Then when he got 15 rounds, I said, wow, you look really good. Let's try to go 17 rounds. He said, no, that's crazy. Why is it crazy? Because when you jump out the ring, you're going to jump back and do the heavy bag. You're going to hit that. You're going to hit the speed bag. So what better punching bag than punch another human being that's punching back? Do 17. So he did 17 rounds. I wanted to try to get 20 rounds to test the mentality of the human being. The human mentality. I wanted to test that mentality. Do the 20 rounds. You did 17, you can do 3 more. And then you can go home. You ain't got to hit no heavy bag. You ain't got to hit no speed bag. I think the best thing to hit on is another human being. While they're trying to hit you, of course. Because you're using every part of your mentality, every part of your physical attributes, and it's got to be an encouragement to the mind. It's got to be an encouragement to the stamina. That's my position, If I had my way, I would have my guys, the championship guys, the guys that's able to fight for championship. I'd have those guys box at least 17 rounds, at least 3 times during a training camp. Okay. I'd have them do 15 rounds at least 3 times during a training camp. I'd have them do 12 rounds at least 4 or 5 times. Yes, because it's a test for the mentality, not just for the stamina, just for the test for the mentality. I'm that kind of trainer. All of that other aerobics and shit, that's bullshit. I want action.
I get you. Shout out to J. Rue's Theory. Brother, I've seen you a few times. Pop on, leave comments in the comment section. Really great feedback. Thank you so much. And I know you're a big supporter of Uncle Bashir. So please, if you've got any questions to ask Uncle Bashir, please do fire them off. Appreciate you being in the room. This is an interesting one. Michael Thomas says that AJ is like a cheap version of Frank Bruno. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that AJ is better than Frank Bruno.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that he's better than Frank Bruno was, mentality-wise and boxing-wise. I think that he was more versatile than Frank Bruno. AJ's biggest setback is that too much BS in between, floating around with his mentality, touching down on this base, touching down on that base, touchdown, and just getting focused and go down the road. You understand? I think that I thought in the original fight with Usyk that AJ would go in there with a George Foreman, Sonny Liston mentality. But we know that didn't happen. And I don't know now if it's even capable of happening. Those are 2 standout punchers that use their physical strength and their power to have their way in the heavyweight division. I don't know if AJ is capable of that at this point. I think AJ he thinks too much thinking.
Let me ask you a question. So you'll say you think AJ is better than Frank Bruno. Would he have beaten Barn Crusher Smith, Tim Witherspoon, Mike Tyson, who else? Oliver McCall. That's 4 guys.
It's a legitimate question, and I'm thinking, it's a tough question. I think AJ's mentality is his greatest enemy. That's his greatest enemy. He thinks too much thinking.
Frank Bruno had a great jab. He had a great jab. Compared to AJ, he had a great jab. And he only got beat by the very best.
AJ got a great jab when he uses it. But I think all around, covering all the bases, I think that he's a better boxer than Frank was.
I don't know if he would have beaten Tim Witherspoon. You think he would have beaten Tim Witherspoon? AJ beat Tim Witherspoon?
I don't know if he had the mentality to mess with a guy like Witherspoon.
That's it is right there. And that's, that's it right there.
Mentality, I told you, it's all in the mind. And people don't understand about boxing. Boxing is more mental, far more mental than it is physical.
And Frank
85% of it is mentality.
Yeah. And he fought a prime Mike Tyson as well. Prime, I say prime Mike Tyson, but then he'd come out of had a car crash and all that stuff going on around him when he fought Frank the first time. But I wouldn't say it to Mike's face at any point in time.
When Mike Tyson was on, Mike Tyson was a joy. People criticize Mike Tyson a lot, but in support of Mike Tyson, they got to remember Mike Tyson was a little guy. Mike Tyson was a little guy, man. He was fighting giants.
Yeah, but okay, the long old question with Mike Tyson is, who did he beat? Who was the best guy he beat? Prime.
Listen, Mike Tyson beat guys that he wasn't supposed to beat. He beat guys he wasn't supposed to beat.
So which guy was an underdog with fighting Mike Tyson? Who was the underdog? The
momentum
was always Mike.
Was with Mike Tyson.
Exactly.
He was the storm that was whirling around the world, so nobody was supposed to beat him. Again, it boils back to mentality. Most of those guys lost them. They lost them because they were scared before they got in the ring. They was fearful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can't fight when you're scared. You can't fight when you're scared. So none of those guys were favored to beat him because they were scared to fight him. Jose Revolta put up a good fight with him because he wasn't afraid.
Would Joshua have beaten Jose Revolta? Bruno fought him.
A tough fight. And let me tell you something. Mike Tyson the people criticized, but I think he was legitimate. The two fights that Mike Tyson had with Razor Ruddock, I think those two fights destroyed Ruddock, and I think they destroyed Mike too. They were never the same after those two fights. I think they fought 120 days apart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they were two great fights.
And they were two great fights. And the punches, the punishment that they took in the fight, they were never the same. Watch each fighter after those two fights. They were never ever the same fighters.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
They fought. They fought on to make money,
but
never
they were
the
same
same after those fights.
Question from Noah here. He says, Hi, James. Wondering if you think Fury's overrated and that if he fought 3 or 4 times a year, he'd lose a few times.
Fury is like an enigma. Fury's the kind of guy that can fight. But if you push him, he'll fight better or he'll fight lesser. I think that he's a good fighter. I think he's not a great fighter, but he's a good fighter. And I think that if he fought 3 times a year, it would open the door. But if he came in the ring, I'd have to say that Fury would beat the people that he was in there with because he's such a surprising fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's a surprising fighter. He rises to the occasion when people don't expect him to.
Okay. Dillian White didn't turn up to the press conference to promote the fight with Tyson Fury. He's making the most money he's ever made in his career. They all let us know that. Why do you think he wouldn't turn up to a press conference? Would you have advised it if he was your fighter?
Yeah, I would have advised him to go to the press conference. It's boxing. That's part of it. It's part of boxing. Why not go to the press conference? Why not? I can't understand that. I would have had him go to the press conference.
Right. The thing is, his needs were not met. I don't know what those needs were. Maybe the way they treat you. Maybe you'd have to have a car or fly him in from his country because he trains in Portugal. Maybe it could be a flight into England to come to the press conference. He probably didn't want to do that, carry on training. I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs.
He's training in Portugal.
Yeah, so his camp is. He's got a camp in Portugal. I believe him and that's what he's been training there for a while now, from what I understand.
Okay. I still would have had him be at the press conference.
Okay.
It's just because it's the legacy of boxing.
Absolutely. Volts UK says Corporate AJ killed his finishing instincts.
What did you say?
Corporate AJ killed his finishing instincts.
I don't know. That one was over my head.
You got DOG says, I disagree in talking about Bruno and Joshua. He goes, Bruno faced Mike. That's hard. That's quite true. Bruno faced Mike twice.
Yeah, Bruno said that Mike Tyson was on him the second time like a harbor shark.
A harbor shark? It was on me like a harbor shark, Harry. On a harbor shark.
What is a harbor shark?
I don't know, but it's obviously something that's onto him real quick. It's onto me like a harbor shark.
Mike Tyson, from 19 to 24, Mike Tyson was a dangerous fighter. After that day, he was just wandering around, doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
He just wasn't the same. Mike Tyson was a great fighter, but not nearly as great as he might have been had he been more focused. He wasn't focused.
Somebody said, a few people have said that if Customer was still alive today, or for that time, Mike went off the rails, he'd have still been champion. He'd have been unbeatable. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that Customer was a great influence on the career of Mike Tyson. But I think Mike Tyson was a loose cannon that was just waiting to get out the corral. So nobody could say what effect Customer might have had on Mike Tyson. I think Mike Tyson was just a loose cannon that was waiting to get out the corral to go crazy. I worked in Mike Tyson's camp for 3 years, and Mike Tyson, he was just a loose cannon, man. Everybody expects something from him. He looked like sometimes like he wanted to just hide from himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he was dangerous. From 19 to 24, he was dangerous.
Okay. Ali Bashir, what do you put Josh Taylor's shoddy showing was down to? He looked like a different person when he was in the ring.
Say the question again.
It says, Ali Bashir, this is John Hugh. He says, what do you put Josh Taylor's shoddy showing down to? He looked like a different person in the ring.
Human being. It's just the human factor. All of us, every day we go to work, we don't be the same every day. We don't be the same every day. Some days just ain't our day. And I think that's what happened with Josh Taylor. I think that the young man gave him a harder test than he anticipated. And arguably, the young man might have won that fight. Arguably, he might have won it.
Okay. EJ Boxing Live says AJ versus Wilder 2022. What Bashir think will it happen? Who wins? And hope you both well. Very well, EJ. Hope you're well too.
It's a very, very dangerous fight for both guys. AJ versus Wilder. It's an iffy situation that I said to you 6 years ago. I hope this fight between AJ and Wilder happens before one or either both of them loses. Here we are with both losses in the rearview mirror. So I think that it's a very iffy fight. If Wilder lands that right hand on AJ, then chances are AJ won't be able to get off the floor. And if AJ can move Wilder around the ring 7, 8 rounds, maybe he can win a decision. But Wilder has always got that X factor in that right hand, that right glove, you know. And if he lands that right hand on anybody in the division, he can disconnect them from their senses long enough to win the fight.
I said this to you before that Derek Chisel said he wants to taste what this power's all about in Deontay Wilder.
But that proves it. Yeah, well, if that sounds crazy, and if he gets hit with the right hand, he will be crazy. he wants to taste it. I saw that article where he said he wants to taste the right hand. You know, lesser guys than that have put Derek Chisora on his back. You know, Wilder hits him, he's definitely gonna be on his back.
That's very true. This is a really good, interesting question. Would Frank Bruno have beaten Vladimir Klitschko, even at his old age? It's a legit question. So let's put Vladimir Klitschko and Frank Bruno the night that Joshua got off the deck to beat Vladimir Klitschko. Let's put Frank Bruno in that night.
I don't know. You know, I don't know. I never thought about Frank Bruno versus Vladimir Klitschko. Frank can be hit. You know, he can be hit with right hands. He can be hit with left hooks. Lennox showed that.
But Lennox was getting that jabbed by him, though.
Huh?
Lennox was getting that jabbed and that boxed by him.
Yes. Because Lennox was being stubborn and bullheaded. You know, Lennox just wanted to fight that night. He didn't want to box. He wanted to fight. You know?
Okay. What happens if Frank hits Klitschko, Vladimir Klitschko? Because Frank was a big puncher.
Vladimir Klitschko would have problems, serious problems. You know, he would have serious problems. And if Vladimir hits Frank would have serious problems.
There's a problem soon as well. Yeah, that's true. Would you? Let's just be mythical for a moment, because it's unlikely the two guys will ever face one another in the ring. But the legendary things have happened. The legendary leagues and all this is happening now, so you never know. But we hope it never happens. Frank Bruno against Vladimir Klitschko. What would be the tactics that you would give for Vladimir to box Frank if you were in the corner of Vlad that night?
A lot of lateral movement and work behind a stiff jab. Look to land the right hands anywhere. You know, with the big, strong heavyweights like Vladimir Klitschko, who has a good left hand and a good right hand. You know, my philosophy to those kind of fighters is not to come in with a lot of psychology, a lot of innuendos, like train them as though they were super middleweights or light heavyweights. No, I'd work with the assets that God gave him. He's got good power in the left hand with the good left jab. He's got good power with the right hand, and he's got good legs. So let's move the guy left to right, right to left, a lot of feints, and pump the jab. Get Frank preoccupied with the jab and look to land the right hand. And when I say land the right hand anywhere. Simple instruction, nothing deep. Nothing deep. All these other things, throwing flurries and all, nah, you don't have to do that. When you got guys with that kind of power. Power makes the difference. You don't need a whole lot of added on innuendos when you have power. Klitschko's got power in the left hand, got power in the right hand. So I wouldn't give him a whole lot to do.
That's another point here from Volts UK. Says AJ still hasn't cracked America. Been a pro nearly 10 years.
Well, he came to America and he lost. So in the back of his mind, he probably thinking I might go to America and lose again. Because he's a thinker, you know, he's a thinker.
DLGG says AJ was ready to step aside to avoid a little guy. Is that fair?
Who?
Might be the truth. AJ was prepared to step aside to avoid a little guy in Usyk. That's, you know, True-ish.
I don't think AJ was going to step aside. I think AJ was going to ask for some astronomical amount that he knew he wasn't going to get, so he can be back in the ring with Usyk. I think that AJ wants to rematch with Usyk. I think he really wants it.
Well, he said before he didn't need a trainer to fight Usyk. Now he's got Adrian Fernandez, so either he doesn't need a trainer or he does need a trainer.
That's emotions talking, you know. But he needs a trainer, you know. He that was his emotions talking there.
Vault says Mike Tyson will be the most famous boxer ever alongside Ali. Want to come and ask you a question about, did you see the fight between Michael Conlan and Lee Wood last night?
No, I didn't watch it all. I watched some of it, but I didn't watch it all.
Okay, well, the fight had an interesting theme to it. You know, Conlan, the what I would call him the Olympic champion, but he was the well-decorated amateur that turned pro and was with Top Rank, and had everything going his way. Fights Lee Wood, guys fought on small halls and put on a fantastic performance to become world champion. And so he must have thought, we'll come over and bash him up and take the title home. Dropped him heavily in the first round with a left hand, like a looping left hand. My gosh.
Yeah.
And how Lee Wood got from that, I mean, and he was getting pinged with his left hand. And through the fight, I'm thinking to myself, if this guy can just hang in there, and then he started backing Conlan up, and I thought, this is not good. He's backing Conlan up now.
But I think Conlan's fire was gone after he got up from that punch.
You think so?
When Lee got up from that punch, I think Conlan's fire was gone.
He started backing up to the ropes. I thought, hold on a second. And then he would exchange, and then Wood would just come back at him. And I think it was literally breaking him. He's breaking his spirit. And it looked like Conlan was exhausted at the end, more than actually. Of course, he got knocked out. He got hit with a peach of a shot. But I think he was exhausted. He came out. The knockdown was round before, but he looked tired.
Mental exhaustion. Exhaustion.
The pressure he kept putting on him.
Yeah. But it was more mental. The fact that he got up. See, that's what you got to be prepared for. When you put a guy down, the guy gets up and still takes a fight to you. You have to be mentally prepared for that kind of action.
I want to throw something else at you. Unbeaten fighter, string of knockouts, knocking people out, first round, second round, Then he comes up against a guy that throws punches back and drops him. Shown to have vulnerability around the chin. Now, these guys like this are being touted to be future world champions. If a guy's a bit brittle around the chin, is putting him back in with guys who can't punch the best way for them to learn, or would you suggest something else?
Well, if you're trying to make money, you're trying to capitalize on the fighter making money. It's not best to put him back in with big punches. You want to get him to the gate, to get him to the title shot, and then you let him start to fly. But you don't want to put him back in with somebody that can drop him again.
Okay.
Sometimes it destroys the fight. Some fighters are destroyed in those kind of fights. They're destroyed mentally. They're destroyed.
Somebody asked the question: Riddick Bowe versus Tyson Fury.
Good fight. Good fight. That's a good fight. But again, styles makes fights.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Galata had the kind of style that upset Riddick Bowe twice.
Yeah.
He had a style, it just got under Riddick Bowe's skin.
It
so
did.
You can never tell,
Okay. Ask Uncle Bashir why 21-year-old Mike Tyson was so good.
Well, momentum. He was made to believe from a young guy that he was the chosen one. And it goes back to just what I said a few minutes ago. Mentality, in most cases, is what makes a guy good or makes a guy bad. And in that case, Mike Tyson had been fed the mentality that you are invincible and that you can beat anybody. And he believed that for the most part. Look at how those amateur fights that he finished up with when he came to the pros. They gave him a steady diet of guys that he was clipping on the chin and getting out of there. Then he started believing the hype. And once you believe the momentum is in your court, you go from there.
Yeah.
He was good. Mike Tyson was good. I told you about the guys that the two heavyweights I was training and trying to sneak over to New York. You know, they didn't want to give me none of the money.
Yeah,
they didn't want to give me the money. And I helped these guys. I helped these guys. I was supposed to be their manager, and they sneak behind my back making money. No one tell. And Mike broke them off, both of them. Broke one of them cheekbone and broke the other one, busted our guy's eardrum and broke his rib. They said, yeah, they're in the hospital, both of them. They was in New York. Some guy named Michael Tyson. I didn't know who Mike was. Yeah. I didn't know who Mike Tyson was. You know, I might have came across him here and there in the amateurs, but I didn't know who he was.
This is here. Bruno said, Harbor Shark. You like Jules? Like a... Yeah, Harbor Shark.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said Mike Tyson was on him like a harbor shark.
Bruno used to come up with some stuff, I tell you. I hope Wilder comes back. Even if for one night, you dream the lights.
Yeah, he needs to come back. He hasn't been back. What has it been? 7 months?
Yeah.
7, 8 months. He's been, he needs to come back.
Let's play Uncle Bashir manager. Amir Khan wants a rematch against Kell Brook. What do you think?
He wants a rematch.
Yeah, he's going to invoke the rematch clause.
Yeah, but for what?
He thinks he can do better. He was injured shoulder. Come on.
He just had the guy. Get out of there. Get out of here. What is he trying? What is he trying to get out of here? Amir's done. Amir Khan is done.
He wants a rematch. He wants to put things right.
He wants to put some more. He wants to put money in his pocket.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what he wants to do. He's conning people.
Carl Froch said he wanted to say that's the kind of man Amir Khan is. Just wants to get a bit of money in the pocket for doing nothing, so he gets step aside money.
Yeah, what's going to be different? He comes back to fight. He comes back and fights this guy again. All right? Then what's going to be different? I'll tell you what's going to be different. He's going to get knocked out.
Cold this time.
He's going and faster.
Horizontal this time, maybe.
I don't know. Nobody in their right mind doesn't want to see that again. All right? Nobody wants to see that again. Nobody in their right mind wants to see that again.
Beterbiev versus Joe Smith.
I don't think it's going to happen. They said that they're freezing out the Russian fighters.
Okay, Paul Beterbiev.
They're gonna freeze them out. The IBF, the WBA, the WBO, and the WBC is like froze out.
Yeah. Rafe Gravenson says, amazing question. You'll have to tell us what that question is. Prime Tour versus Prime Tyson. I heard this so many times. This question. I'd say Prime Tyson.
It's a good fight. It's a very good fight. It's a very, very good fight. But I'd have to go with Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I would too as well. Vitali versus Fury. I'm going Vitali. I'm going Vitali in that one. Prime Vitali versus Tyson Fury.
I like Vitali in that one. I like the fatality in that one.
Do you remember when Lennox Lewis fought Oliver McCall the second time, and he had that breakdown?
Yeah.
Can you explain to me how a man like Oliver McCall literally walked through Lennox Lewis punches? I see Lennox wind up and throw overhand rights to Oliver McCall, and he's walking straight through them, walking. Lennox is punching him, and he's walking through them punches. What kind of a chin did Oliver McCall have?
Well, all you got to do is look at the fight between Henry Ikebuchi and Oliver McCall, and you'll see the kind of chin that he has.
Whew.
I mean, Henry Ikebuchi was hitting him everything with the Rock of Gibraltar, and he kept walking to it, you know?
I cannot. I don't. How many other heavyweights you know has got a chin like that, Uncle? Rick Mercer had a good chin, but he got dropped by Holyfield. He said it was he got elbowed or something. That's why he went down, or Holyfield headbutted him. But I mean, in terms of a chin, I don't think I ever saw
McCall was a dangerous fighter. He was a dangerous fighter. He's one of the toughest sparring partners that Mike Tyson ever had.
Wasn't it? He dropped Tyson as well before the
fight. Him and Mike Tyson used to get into some really, really tough battles in there. Mike Tyson was a good fighter. People just say ugly things about him, but Mike Tyson, you could really see how tough he was in those sparring camps when he was boxing Oliver McCall. When you see that,
yeah.
Mike actually could take those sparring tapes right now and actually sell them to a video store. People would pay to see that.
Oh, they would. Sessions. Oh, they would. They would. John Hugh asks, Ali Bashir, what do you put Usyk's legs down to? Was it the other trainer who he just seemed better than everyone in the leg department? Was it football or Cossack dancing?
I don't know. I think it's his mentality. Usyk thinks he's the best ever. All right? If you let Usyk tell you, he'll say that he's the best ever. He's a workaholic. He does everything that he's asked to do and more, to secure the win. So he's a tough guy. He's a really tough guy.
I'm going to throw this at you. You're never going to believe I heard this story today. And I'm like, how did that come about? Chris Eubank Jr., it came out of his mouth. He said he would love to fight Terence Crawford.
What a junior middleweight? I mean, what is he saying?
I don't know. Where's he coming? Where's he going with that? Crawford versus Eubank Jr. Where's he going with that?
Crawford is a little guy compared to Eubank Jr.
That's what I'm saying. Where's he going with that fight?
Yeah, but I mean, Crawford's a little guy,
That's what I'm saying. I know. That doesn't make no sense. I know. He was talking about. He mentioned something about it as well. I don't understand. What if Vladimir got the rematch with Tyson Fury at that time? What would have happened? Vladimir Klitschko, Tyson Fury, that fight goes ahead.
I think that the fight would have had a different scenario. I don't know about the outcome, because I don't want to seem prejudiced, but I think the scenario would have been different. I think Vladimir would have fought him differently.
You'd have to fight him differently.
I think he would have fought, his application would have been different. I just didn't agree with the strategy that was Vladimir Klitschko was given in the Tyson Fury fight. I don't agree with the strategy that he was given in the Joshua fight. I don't agree with the strategy he was given in the Jennings fight. So many of them. And I told him I don't.
Yeah, you did. You did.
I don't agree with the strategy. This is nonsense.
Here's one here. BWTM Sports tried to get an interview with Prince Naseem Hamed. We do have an interview with Prince Naseem Hamed. You just need to type in BWTM Sports Prince Naseem Hamed interview. It's there. Would you train Amir Khan?
No.
Why?
Too late. I would have had to get Amir Khan 10 fights ago to make the difference.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? The training style that he's had over these years, there were vulnerabilities there that should have been tightened up a long time ago. So no, I couldn't do it now. I don't want to come in and be Mr. Fix It. You know, and I know I can't fix it. He would have to be dealt with back then, prior to those other 10 fights that he had.
Ike Ikebuchi versus Mike Tyson. Wow, now we're talking a fight there. What do you think, Uncle? That's a fight I would love to see.
Really tough fight.
Who are you going with in that one?
I don't know.
I'm going with Ike on this one.
I don't know. Mike Tyson had a hell of a chin, man. He had a chin, man.
But so does Ike.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Mike has never got off the dick to win a fight, like Lennox Lewis. Both guys have never got off the dick to win a fight. But then Ike, I don't know if he's actually got off the dick to win a fight either. But I don't know if Ike got knocked down in any fights.
I think that that's a tough fight.
Tommy the Duke Morrison versus AJ. Oh, that's a great fight. Huh? Tommy the Duke Morrison.
Yeah, that's a tough fight. That's a really tough fight.
Tommy the Duke Morrison, the one that fought Ray Mercer. That Tommy Morrison versus AJ.
That's a tough fight. Believe it or not, that's a really, really tough fight. And I can't pick a clear winner in that fight. As I sit here and think about it, that's a tough fight.
Okay.
Sometimes AJ looked like a world beating. Other fights, he just looks so insecure, you know?
What about the guys that press AJ back? Because I think AJ is a very good on-top, come-forward fighter. But I think when you push AJ back and you make him have to fight with the back foot and you put pressure on him, he's not as effective.
No, it doesn't look as effective in that mode.
So potentially that's what it could be.
But that Morrison AJ fight, that's an iffy fight. You know, my guy was the first guy to fight Tommy Morrison. And I felt that my guy was going to win that fight had he listened to me. That's why focus is always going to be very, very important. My guy had a Morrison cut really badly. I think under the left eye. It was bleeding very, very badly. And I felt that the referee would stop the fight. Even though it was under the eye, it was bleeding so badly that I said, we can stop this fight, but don't try to, but the guy kept telling, I ran around to the corner and said, just box with him. He said, no, I can get him. I said, no. You need to box with him. He said, but I can get him. And he went out there exchanging punches and got caught. He got clipped and knocked out in the first round.
Well, was it by a left hook, by the way?
Yeah, left hook. But he didn't go. He went almost down, but his gloves didn't touch the floor and his butt didn't touch the floor. So it wasn't called a knockdown.
Okay.
But he got numbed really bad with that left hook and he never came back and fight.
Ray Mercer versus AJ. The Ray Mercer that fought Lennox Lewis. That AJ.
Ray Mercer.
Why?
Just too tough. Chin, boxing style. Ray Mercer can box. Chin, good jab, excellent jab. No, he beats AJ.
The Larry Holmes that fought Mike Tyson versus AJ.
Well, you couldn't tell because Larry Holmes was out of there. But I think Larry Holmes would get AJ all kinds of problems because of that jab.
Larry Holmes came back and he beat Ray Mercer. He actually was the first guy to beat Ray Mercer. Do you remember the fight?
Yeah.
Made a mockery of Ray Mercer.
Yeah.
Wow. Who has the best chin, Uncle? Probably the one that doesn't get hit. Tell us.
It's hard to say who has the best chin, but Oliver McCall is amongst them. I'll tell you that.
Top of the list, maybe.
Oliver McCall is amongst them. Ikebuchi, Mike Tyson, those guys got chins, man. Ikebuchi, Mike Tyson, Oliver McCall. Those guys got some tremendous chins.
What about David Tua?
David Tua, it's good chin. I don't think David Tua was ever stopped in a fight.
No. No.
And Ikebuchi was never stopped in a fight.
Nope.
Oliver McCall was never stopped in the fight except for when he stopped the fight.
Yes, true. Tyson versus Vitali. Mike Tyson. Prime Tyson, prime Vitali.
Vitali. Too big, too tall. Too difficult to get to. Vitali beats him.
Points, knockout?
I think on points, I think he beats him.
Wow. Okay. Chris Eubank has been pushing for this fight against GGG. Does he beat him?
No.
Wow. What about Charlo?
Oh man, I saw so many fights that should have happened 2-3 years ago. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Chris Eubank hasn't had a fight with Charlo. Neither one of the Charlos. I mean, for the last 5 years, why hasn't these fights happened?
Well, Spencer Crawford. Now, Blair Cobb says that Spencer's a drunk and he's a fool and he's scared. Well, I guess that might just be fight talk, but I don't know.
Blair Cobb is a tough guy.
Yeah, I hear.
And Blair Cobb is, and the thing I like about Blair Cobb is that he's willing to put it on the line.
Yeah.
He's willing to put it on the line against anybody. Blair Cobb is willing to put it on the line. I like him. I like his attitude.
Okay.
I like his attitude. I'd like to train Blair Cobb.
You like to train Blair Cobb?
I would like to train him because of his enthusiasm, not because of his boxing style, because of his willingness to get in there with anybody. And I like those kind of guys to work. Those kind of guys, they feed my appetite to be in boxing, to be a boxing trainer. Those kind of guys, Blair Cobb, feed my appetite. Like him or not, he feeds my appetite because he'll get in there with anybody. He'll try.
Did Khan pick too early? Medalist at 17, world champion at 21.
Who?
Did Amir Khan peak too early? Medalist at 17, world champion by 21.
Hey, let's start with the Amir Khan questions. Amir Khan is in the rearview mirror. He just never tried. I just never think that he reached his full maturity. He looked like he got roller skates on when he's boxing. Look like he's moving on roller skates.
Roller skates.
You know, I never thought that much of Amir Khan.
Okay. Leif Gravenson says, a Field of Dreams boxing movie would be a true heaven for boxing fans.
That's above my head.
Yeah. Okay. Not above your pay grade, just above your head.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I'm not going to make this one. Peter McNeely versus David Price.
Oh man, David Price knocks Peter McNeely out.
Okay, wait, Uncle. The thing about David Price, I think he had a chance of becoming a world champion if he was properly managed and trained. What do you think?
Yeah, but he can't come in and tell the trainers what to do. You know.
That's what Tony Brooks is saying.
No, you got to. When you get boxer that comes in that wants to be the trainer and the boxer too, it's a lost cause. It's a lost cause, you know.
Mike Tyson versus Prime Mike Tyson versus Prime Usyk. There's one for you.
Usyk frustrates Mike and beats him on points.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he frustrates Mike and beats him on points.
Michael Grant versus AJ.
Look at Mike Tyson's fights against James Quick Tillis.
Guys that can move.
You know, Usyk just his style would be all wrong for Mike Tyson. Because Mike wouldn't be able to get close enough to Usyk to really inflict the kind of punishment that he likes to inflict. So I don't see him beating Alexander Usyk.
Okay. Michael Grant versus AJ. The Michael Grant that Lennox Lewis fought. What do you think?
AJ knocks Michael Grant out.
Okay.
Early.
Let me give you one. Andrew Galotta versus AJ.
AJ beats Andrew Galotta, but it's iffy because AJ trying to be a philosopher instead of being a boxer. You know, AJ is capable of beating these guys from the past, but he can't go out there trying to be Aristotle. You know, to be or not Aristotle. You know, you can't be out there to be or not to be. No. You got to go out and do your job. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be a good trainer for AJ because I would light a fire on them, and I don't know whether he would like it. All of this nonsense I'll be seeing him doing on the internet, I would say, look, can that nonsense? This is what we need to do. First, we need to develop a good jab that you believe in.
You know. Up to today, he's still doing videos with him jabbing and not bringing the jab back to his face. He's still jabbing, leaving the left hand out there.
Because he hasn't been trained properly.
But people watch his videos and they're like, yeah, AJ's got the jab working well now. I'm like, oh, no.
No, he hasn't been trained properly.
Uncle. I know the answer to this one. I'm not even bothered. Ann Wolf versus Layla Ali. I love Layla. I love me some Layla Ali, but
Layla wouldn't fight like that with Ann. Layla would outbox Ann Wolf.
Really?
Yeah, she would box. She would try to box Ann Wolf because she knows that she couldn't mix it up with the power puncher like that. Ann can punch. So Layla would try to box and try to win a decision. That would be in her best bet because if she didn't, she'd get hurt. I don't know why they never fought, you know?
Clarissa Shields, Layla Ali. Prime for prime.
Layla beats Clarissa because Layla can punch and Clarissa can't.
Okay. Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall.
That's iffy. As it is now, I think that Clarissa would beat her. You know, from what I've seen of them both as pros, I think that Clarissa would beat her.
Okay. Easy? Hard night?
Let me tell you something. If Clarissa Shields had punching power,
yeah.
If she had punching power, she'd be something. She'd be something else. She just can't punch.
Well, let me give you this. If somebody's not a puncher, like you're just saying here, and then they start getting a string of knockouts, how does that happen? Against good opposition. How does that happen?
The only thing I can see is you're born to be a puncher, and if you ain't born to be a puncher, then you can create it over time, mentality, what you believe you can do. Clarissa just can't seem to punch. You know, but she's a good boxer. She's a fantastic boxer.
Let's see, man. Can Bivol be Canelo's hardest test since GGG1? I think he is. I think he's the best fighter he's fought since.
Yeah,
since Mayweather.
I think Bivol is a tough test for him.
Yeah, I think it's legit as well. He's not going to come to lie down, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Usyk inspired 19-year-old Mike Tyson.
Usyk what?
Usyk inspired with 19-year-old Mike Tyson.
He's inspiring.
No, sparring. Usyk sparring.
Usyk
19.
19-year-old Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
That's some dangerous stuff.
For Usyk or for Tyson?
For Usyk. Because Mike Tyson was dangerous at 19.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a dangerous guy. 19 years old. Are you kidding?
Is there anything that Dillian Whyte can do to beat Tyson Fury?
I don't think that Dillian could beat Tyson's style. You know, Tyson's style is going to give Dillian problems. If Dillian stays focused and invest in body punching, then he might be able to do something. But I don't know if he can do that.
That's where I think his strengths lie. He's physically stronger than Deontay Wilder.
Oh, yeah.
So if Tyson were to use those same tactics again against Dillian Whyte and then not move like he used to move when he fought Klitschko, would that not give Dillian a better chance of winning?
I think Dillian has a good chance of winning. I just don't think he's going to win. But, you know, it depends on what Tyson comes in the ring. If Tyson comes in the ring focused, no, I don't think that Dillian's going to win. I don't think he can beat Tyson.
Okay. How much do you think Tyson Fury's got left after those 3 fights with Wilder? It must have taken something out of him.
It's hard to tell. A guy like Tyson, you can't tell what kind of effect those fights had on him. Now he's talking about this is going to be his last fight.
He's just talking. He's talking. It might be his last fight if Dillian chins him.
Yeah.
Somebody's asked the question, Dillian Whyte against Jerry Cooney.
It's a good test. But I would have to go with Jerry Cooney.
Why?
The left hook.
Okay.
Dillian just can't. He hasn't seen a left hook that he can't get away from. Dillian Whyte just still can't. He just can't seem to. I mean, get away from left hooks. And Cooney had a good jab too. He knew how to use his jab.
Okay. Alexander Usyk, Evander Holyfield for the Cruiserweight Championship of the World, and then for the Heavyweight Championship of the World, undisputed.
Usyk beats Holyfield because Holyfield can never deal with slick boxes. You look at the fights with James Toney, Chris Bird, Larry Donald, all of those guys were slick, awkward boxes, and he could not beat those guys. They shamed Evander Holyfield. Usyk wins the fight. Usyk wins the fight, unanimous decision.
Okay.
Chris Bird made Holyfield look like he was in a cornfield somewhere.
Somebody asked the question, remember when Bashir took Ingram on the pants? LOL, he says. Moving on.
That wasn't bad. He didn't do a bad job.
For an old man like me, I didn't do too bad, uncle.
No, but didn't do a bad job.
Thank you, uncle. Appreciate that. I'll send you $5 later in the post.
No, that was good.
Okay. Ali versus Usyk. I knew the Ali question was going to come up.
Ugly fight.
Yeah. It's not what I paid to see.
It's an ugly fight, you know? I mean, 10 punches lands in the fight. Just an ugly fight. You know, of course I'm going to pick Ali, but I don't see that being an entertaining fight. It's an ugly fight.
Did you hear that star referee Ian John Lewis has been downgraded because of his scorecard in the Josh Taylor Jack Catterall fight?
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, he's been downgraded. Star referee has been downgraded. And Jack Catterall is saying he could be mandatory and get a rematch against Josh Taylor, but Josh Taylor said he wants it £147. I don't, if it's that bad a decision, why don't they just give Catterall the belt?
Yeah. I think that it was a very close fight. And like I said, arguably, you know, Taylor lost that fight.
Okay. As Uncle, before we finish, is there anything else that comes to your mind you want to talk about, or?
No, I just wanted to say this war to be over so everybody can get back to normal street. But I don't think that.
Oh, Uncle, I've got a whole load of stuff come through here. Oh wow, sorry, Ali Bashir. How does steroids feature in modern boxing?
Say that. Ask the question again.
How does steroids feature in modern boxing?
I don't think it's any place for that kind of stuff. I think that anybody caught using steroids should be banned from boxing for life. They shouldn't be given a second chance. I think they should be banned from boxing. I don't like it because it's going to mess up boxing. It's going to ruin the sport.
Dillian's weakness is to the uppercut. Sorry.
We shouldn't wait. We shouldn't wait until people die to do something about steroids in boxing. So I think that we need to confront the situation head on and stop it.
Uncle, is there Leif Grayson asked, is there a certain boxing era James Bashir would have loved to have been involved in?
I think the best boxing era was
the 70s,
the 60s, 70s, and 80s. The 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's the one. That was the one for me. The 60s, the 70s, the 80s. That was the one for me.
Okay.
There was some interesting fights.
How about this one? We'll close on this one. Top 5 trainers, Uncle.
Top 5 trainers.
Yeah, top 5 trainers.
It's hard to put a label on it there because some of the good trainers we never even saw. You know, look at the trainers that trained Joe Louis and Sugar Ray Robinson, Henry Armstrong. Wow. You know, those trainers, we can't even touch down on the trainers because there wasn't no video. Obviously, they were good because look what they did with the fighters.
Yep.
You know, Jack Dempsey and, you know, Jake Lamar. You have to have insight to have a guy win that many fights. You know, it was some really good trainers. So you really can't touch that. When people say trainers, they don't know from one generation to another generation. There's no way of collecting that kind of information because a lot of it wasn't videotaped. Yeah. People say that this person was good, that person was good, this person that was good, that person was good, but tell me how. Prove it. Where's the resume? You can't. Without the resume, you really can't prove what you're talking about.
It says 5 top trainers of all time. Wow, that's
5 top trainers of all times. Please, give me a break. You know, I don't know where it began. I don't know where it began.
Where would you be beginning? Are we going to base it on the amount of champions they produced? How many of those champions did they train by themselves? I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. You can't, there's no way nobody can say this is arguably the best trainer of all times.
Of all times? Wow, that's a lot of times.
I mean, you know, based on what? Based on what? I mean, there's some good trainers that has come and gone.
Yeah.
Well, how do you base on what trainer was better than the other trainer?
Mm-hmm. How
You
are
know,
you?
you may have a trainer that trained this guy for one fight, 2 fights, 3 fights. You know, come on, it's just nonsense to me when people come up saying that that's the best trainer. You'd have to think that Customato would be amongst some of the greatest trainers of all time, because Customato took 3 ghetto kids that didn't know nothing about boxing, and he turned into world champion. And 2 of them happened to be the youngest champions ever.
Tyson and Patterson. So wow, you're right.
That's great. That's greatness to me. When you take
His legacy.
When you take 3 guys that didn't know nothing about boxing, took them in, trained them, taught them how to box, and you make them the youngest heavyweight champions ever, and still to this day, those records haven't been broken. To this very day, those records haven't been broken. So you would have to say he was amongst the best of all time, because he got 2 records that can't be broken.
Absolutely. Uncle, we're going to close here. It says, we love you, JAB. We appreciate you answering our questions, man. You're looking good.
Thank you. Thank everyone. Thank everyone for listening. Thank everyone for participating in the sport of boxing. And I look to be with you guys a lot longer, you know. I just try to do the best to represent the sport of boxing when I go out there. I'm not trying to be egotistic. I'm not trying to be a wise guy. I just want to do the best that I can for the sport of boxing. When people are listening to me in the corner, I hope that they can benefit from the wisdom that I have to share. I earned it over these years in the sport of boxing. I earned it the hard way. You know, I'm not trying to be an ingrate. I want to be a people person. I want to do the best job that I can in that corner, you know.
So, to end this interview or the show, the main topic, going back to the point, is because you were misquoted. So how would you like me to title this interview? Because obviously you want to get that message out there to the people.
From the horse's mouth. That's how you do it.
From the horse's mouth, we're going to call it.
From the horse's mouth. You know,
so,
that's how everything should be in life.
Yep. From the horse's mouth.
But people in general are cowardly. You know, you can't straddle the road when something is wrong. People in the world need to stand up to this man, Vladimir Putin. He's a bad person. He's not a good person. You understand? He's not a good person. The guy is killing people. He's murdering people. And people are sitting around thinking that, well, he's justified. Serious? Are you serious? No, he's not justified. He created this war because he knows this country is defenseless. You know, he knows this country is defenseless. And the people from Belarus, they're just kissing his ass. They're a bunch of flunkies too in Belarus. You know, they're kissing Putin's ass so that no, they don't rain terror down on them.
Yeah.
You know, This guy's walking around with his chest stuck out. This president from Belarus walking around with his chest stuck out like he's doing something. You're murderers. You're murderers, and you're all going to hell. You know. So, Slava Ukraine. Slava Ukraine.
Up Ukraine, up Ukraine.
Yes. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Uncle. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you all, too. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Uncle. Take care.
Yes.